No, you will, Deputy Daly. 30 seconds to
Orla, Minister, there is utter chaos out at Dublin Airport as a result of, I think, your department working with the IAA's behest to change the working arrangements of airport police and custom officers who, since the foundation of the state, have been exempt from security compliance conditions and now are being forced to go through normal security, which is having a massive impact on their ability to do their job, their health and safety and their welfare at work. Exemptions are being given to Army and Gardaí on the basis of a one-off security clearance. Why not for the coalface airport police and customs staff at the airport?
It's grouped with 66. So, Minister, your reply, please.
Yes, it's PQs 61 and 66 taken together. Aviation security is a priority area at national and EU level, which is under constant review and scrutiny in response to new intelligence on threats and risks. Ireland is obliged to play its part in the international effort to make flying as secure and safe as possible. If we aspire to be a highly connected nation, it's essential that our international airports are up to international best standards in security terms. A number of reviews or audits of security practices and procedures at the state airports pointed to the need to introduce improvements in staff screening arrangements. For instance, in 2017, the Department invited the European Civil Aviation Conference to review security at Dublin Airport, and a number of recommendations were made, including relating to improving security screening and checks for so-called insider threats. The new enhancements were adopted by the National Civil Aviation Security Committee, NCASC, on the basis of a risk assessment by the Irish Aviation Authority, which has responsibility for overseeing compliance with aviation security requirements in Ireland. On the matter of how and why specific decisions have been taken in respect of certain categories of people working at our airports, these details are security related and as such are highly confidential. I cannot be drawn on the details, and I'm sure that the Deputy will understand that. I can, however, assure the Deputy that these decisions are informed by international best practices and risk assessment. No organisation is exempt from compliance with the regulations governing aviation security. New provisions are on the way at European level, which will introduce additional aspects to the background checks carried out in civil aviation, including the use of security intelligence. When these new measures, EU measures, come into effect, they will become part of the overall suite of security measures now applied at Irish airports, including the recently introduced enhanced screening measures, with the objective of improving security practices and security culture at our airports. There has been a high level of engagement around the implementation of the new security enhancements introduced by my department, and while there is always an element of adjustment and inconvenience to individuals, these new measures are in the broader public and national interest. As threats and risk to civil aviation change over time, so too must the security response. And this requires those people charged with providing security to be flexible and innovative. I have no intention nor any desire to interfere in softening any security measure which will bring aviation security to a higher standard.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy.
I think you'll be revisiting this topic in the future. All of us are in favour of enhanced security. It is under constant review. This proposal did not come from any audit or any oversight at Dublin Airport. In actual fact, the constant improvements that you refer to have always excluded airport police and customs officials from it because, contrary to your statement, they are not members of staff. They are the state airport operators' primary law enforcers. And what they're being asked to do now, in order to do their job when they go between airside and landside, is to divest themselves of all of their protective clothing gear at a normal X-ray machine, multiple times a day, stab vests, handcuffs, limb restraints, first aid kits. It's utterly chaotic. They can't do their work properly. A full background check is acceptable for members of An Garda Síochána and the Defence Forces who continue to be exempt from the security clearance. Why have the airport police and customs officers not been given that choice? Why and what is the response? Has the DAA contacted you to offer the percentage of staff on an annual basis for this type of screening? It's a bit ironic that the airport police get reviewed every 3 years for security check, and yet you've Gardaí and Defence Forces walking through on a once-off security check. It's utter nonsense to hide this behind the guise of security.
Can I just appeal to Minister and Deputies, if we want to include the other two people, keep your answers as short as possible. Reply to Deputy Daly, Minister.
Okay, the Deputy seems to be under the impression the airport police and revenue officials are being treated differently to An Garda Síochána and the Defence Forces, or they're being excluded from the security clearance that is available. I would like to reassure you that this is not the case. Airport police and revenue officials are fully background checked in accordance with EU regulations. The basis of this decision is that of a risk assessment carried out by the Irish Aviation Authority on the screening exemptions held by categories of persons in Ireland. The details of the risk assessment can't be discussed due to the highly sensitive nature of it, but the process is extremely robust and has been endorsed by the National Civil Aviation Security Committee, of which the Revenue Commissioners and the DAA are members.
Thank you very much. Final comment, Deputy Daly.
Complaint, and you might find out about a security risk of any airport police and customs officer. The point you're missing is that the Gardaí and the Defence Forces don't have to strip off and divest themselves of all of their work clothing in order to do their job when they go through the security and the X-ray machines, which the airport police and customs staff have to do. It's making their job incredibly difficult. They were always security compliance exempt because they are under that law enforcement category. Now, if a full background check is sufficient to exclude the Gardaí and the Defence Forces from having to do that, then why not the airport police and customs officials, immigration officers, who quite often, in a time-sensitive way, have to move airside and back to the other side of the airport? The DAA has passed, Dublin Airport, Cork Airport has passed all of the security audits that's been done. There's been one due, the findings which are out later, probably this month. Where's the threat coming from? Doesn't add up. Could we not have one playing field for all?
Final brief comment, Minister.
I'm afraid, Deputy, I am obliged and inclined to accept the advice of the IAA and of the NCASC on matters of security. That is a position which I must take, and rather than take your advice, I will have to take theirs.